at MCR HRDI feel very happy to be part of the Hyderabad edition of this important literary event, that is Valley of Words. It is for the first time that Valley of Words has ventured out of Dehradun. The Hyderabad edition of the Valley of Words gives an opportunity to the book lovers and the authors residing in Hyderabad to get their books released and publicized. In this edition, number of books written by authors based in Hyderabad are being released in this event. Also, as part of the total program, English translations and English writing for young adults nomination books are being read out to the book lovers of Hyderabad. I hope that this becomes a regular affair and the writers in Hyderabad and the book lovers of Hyderabad get an opportunity to know about writings of other authors and on different topics. I request the book lovers of Hyderabad to attend this event at MCR HRDI in great numbers. We look forward to their participation. I would like to thank Shri Sanjeev Chopra ji for agreeing to host this edition here.
It's great to have this lovely message from Dr. Harpreet Singh, the Director General of the M. Chenna Reddy Human Resource Development Institute at Hyderabad. This is actually a beautiful campus. It's one of the most beautiful campuses that you can come across. The Jubilee Hills, there is a lake, there is a water body, there are mountains, there are terraces, and it's a very verdant campus with so many trees of red sanders and bougainvilleas, and it's a beautiful campus and a beautiful setting to have the Hyderabad edition of the Valley of Words. And I'm joined by two of my colleagues, incidentally, both from JNU. Ajay and I have grown up together in both the Satluj Hostel and the Gomti Guest House. Remember, Ajay, we spent a lot of time in the Gomti Guest House right next to Bengali Market and Sapru House. And we're joined by a young friend, Dr. Ramesh. I mean, he's no longer as young as we thought he is, but he is, compared to both of us, he's very young, and he is the founder, director of an institute located in the MCHRDI, which is the Center for Study of Human Security Systems. So welcome to both of you. But we'll start with Ajay. Ajay, tell us about how you were able to involve so many people in the Hyderabad edition of Valley of Words. I mean, the range is phenomenal. Because in most other cities we have professors, we have journalists and academia, but you've been able to involve everybody from army generals to school children to college kids. You've done a remarkable job in connecting people. So maybe we'll first start with you, Ajay, about getting so many people involved in the Hyderabad edition.
100 days back, when we discussed together about this festival. I had known about this festival through your WhatsApp and other communication during the last 2-3 years. But to organize it here in Hyderabad, and I had never ventured into organizing such an event before in last few decades. But then fortunately, time was there. The format was initially agreed. It went through some modifications during the course of last 3 months. On the first day itself, when it came to literary festival, book reading, discussion on books, 2 institutions came to my mind. One was the English and Foreign Languages University here in Hyderabad, which is one of its kind in the country. And second is the organizers of Hyderabad Literary Festival. Few of them whom I knew personally during the course of my 15 years of stay in Hyderabad. Everything else was blank before me 3 months back. Fortunately, these people volunteered without any persuasion on my part. They were more eager than me to give me suggestions, tell me the format, and provide me with a long list of volunteers, if I can say, who will be contributing to this two-day event here. Besides the Hyderabad Literary Festival and English and Foreign Languages University, there is Hyderabad Central University here. There I knew few professors because of my earlier association with them. The English department of HCU also came in very handy for me. Osmania University also, the Professor Vijay Kumar, who happens to be from Osmania University and is also one of the directors of Hyderabad Literary Festival, did the bonding of both the institutions. Then after once I was involved, I started discussing with people, whomever I met, whoever had some literary inclination or had written books or had published some papers. They came up with ideas. And that's how, if I can say, in the contributors, participants, which we'll be witnessing during this weekend, we have few officers who have written books. They are not simply officers, if I can say. They have published one or more books in the last 5 to 10 years. There are one retired general from the army who is into, if I can say, who is a avaricious reader, and he also agreed. There are youngsters.
You're talking about General Shravan Kumar, right?
Yes, General Shravan Kumar.
And you know, I think the readers would be, the listeners would be excited to know that, you know, Shravan and I go back a long way. Way back in 1987, when I was posted as SDO of Kalimpong, he used to be the ADC to the GOC there. And our friendship has been there for the last several years. It's a pleasure that, Ajay, that you've again helped me connect to a friend with whom I had lost touch a long time ago. And I think he's there because he's a very close friend of Bala, who again is from JNU. So it's a very interesting net that you've been able to cast. Sorry, carry on, please.
On this note, I can tell that we shared the same flat consecutively in Delhi. First Major Shravan Kumar, then myself and my wife, when she was doing NDC course in Delhi. So there our the bonds were renewed about 6-7 years back. And he happens to be from Hyderabad, so we kept on meeting.
Great.
So I'll come back, the academic institutions here played the initial role in giving me confidence about taking forward this event. Then my friends from the army, some people from journalist background, also from the officers, they also volunteered. There were other people from the theater who are into storytelling and who are interested in books. They have joined. Besides that, the new element which we have put forward, naturally that was following the discussion which we had in the first and second meeting, is involvement of kids. Because one of the verticals for which 5 books are being read and discussed is for young adults. So for all these sessions, we are having a young panelist. Young panelist means he is a student either from the 11th, 12th to university. So he will be sharing the dais and he will be also asking the questions with the author and interacting with the author. That is a new thing which we have introduced for the first time here. We are also...
let me just point out that this is the first time ever that this format has been evolved. And nowhere did even VOW did not think of this, and no other literature festival had thought of a format in which the book is being discussed by a young panelist and by a senior panelist. So you look at the same book from the prism of a teenager, or from the prism of a young adult, or from the prism of a person in the 20s. And the same book is also being looked at by the prism of a person who spent about 20 to 30 years in the profession. So it changes the way we look at a book. So the same book, when you read, for example, a translation of Jenny Bhatt, maybe the story of Postmaster, the way a young person the way a young person would look at that story, and the way a grandfather would look at the story, are two different scenarios altogether. So congratulations, Ajay, for having thought this. And I think this is a format which I'm going to take from here and adopt in the other editions of other city editions of VOW as well. It's a great idea, and I think it's really wonderful that we've been able to connect several generations, because one of the key points which VOW always has in mind is the need to have an intergenerational connect. And this kind of a format in which you have young discussants and a moderator and another discussant who's very senior, this sort of helps. Let me move on to Dr. Ramesh. Dr. Ramesh, thank you for doing all the legwork here. I mean, from organizing the gift bags to doing the running around to ensuring that the venue is doing just fine. So tell us about, and you're also going to be signing an MOU with the Value of Words. So tell us about your journey and how did you found this institution? What is the value that you find in collaborating with the Value of Words?
Firstly, at the outset, I put it on record, sir. Seniors from JNU, Jawaharlal Nehru University, like you, Sanjeev Chopra sir, and then Ajay Mishra sir, and BP Acharya sir, and many others, you people are our inspiration, sir, to follow in every sense. So I take that our umbilical card, my connection with you starts from there, with JNU alumni get together to Valley of Words. So Valley of Words, I found it fascinating because given the 21st century realities where the liberalization, privatization, globalization, a lot of making and unmaking India in every sense. That's what happening on a very fast-paced pitch. But you took up your call. I may call it, maybe it's your calling, your destiny. That once you, for the last 4 or 5 years, the kind of service that you have been doing to the country on literary front, especially reviving the literature, reviving Indian history, military strategy, military history, all kinds of things that you put in one particular, I can call it a, the mix of, salad of bowl, for a wonderful variety country like India, unity and diversity. Replica of Valley of Words that I could, I could see, and also I felt, I should be working with the Valley of Words in that sense, sir, to take it to the posterity, to the next generation, our roots about Indian history, Indian culture, literature. That's fascinating, sir. So my hearty congratulations to you and to the whole VOW, Valley of Words, VOW team, including Rishabh, who is helping us with the technical team, and Tanya madam and others. So that's one thing.
So, Dr. Ramesh, you've just your foundation has just compiled a volume on India's geopolitics after COVID-19 or post-COVID-19, and how has COVID impacted on the geostrategic scenario in the world. So can you tell us something about the book and also something about your foundation? How do you look at things in the post-COVID world?
Sir, thank you very much for that important, very significant question, sir. COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the world over, as we all agree. But how has it impacted India and its immediate neighborhood? See, given India's 15,000 kilometers of land borders and 7,516 kilometers of coastal borders, geographically speaking, we have our immediate neighbors from, China, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, where we share our water borders with. We have seen some of the articles have reflected the realities, not only from the Indian politics and governance point of view, but also from how these developing countries in the immediate neighborhood of India have been struggling to cope with a pandemic of this nature, COVID-19. I mean, people might disagree with what I say, sir. It's part of the intellectual freedom. I think VOW is also an extension of intellectual freedom. For me, to me, personally, Chinese orchestrated venomous imperial design. People can disagree with that or agree with that. That's what I have defined COVID-19 as. And I have had my research shows that it has a strong sense of political leadership at the helm of affairs in China, which has the it's a lab leaked theory also. I support. So I have touched upon certain issues of those nature also. So I think it's going to create some kind of ripples. About the way that we understand COVID. Is it a man-made disaster, or is it a natural disaster, or it's a natural disaster having a political ambition to the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative of that nature? Anyway, these are the points that intellectually I took freedom to write. I may be discounted, but besides me, there are research articles reflecting the realities on how COVID-19 impacted the education of children. And also other important marginalized groups in the society. There is this digital divide that is engulfing the whole world. And how are you going to give justice or rule of law? How are you going to apply these political principles or objectives by a state government or a national government to reach to the haves and have-nots? Digitally haves, digitally have-nots also is a question now to be tackled. I think some of these finer issues we have dealt with in that book, sir. And also Indian politics and governance is one section in the book, is going to detailing about the good governance and the smart governance and the technology part. So we have research interns working on these areas, concentrating on all those issues, sir. And also the few faculty members from Dr. MCR HRD Institute has written on Indian politics and governance also. So it's an amalgamation of both Indian politics, governance, COVID-19 as a pandemic and its impact on from the common man to the the highest political leadership in the country. So this is that kind of canvas which we
Right.
try.
Thank you, Ramesh. And also tell me about your foundation. You are also signing an MOU with us. So what makes the Center for Human Security Systems align with the value of words?
Sir, the very word human security emanates from the United Nations concept of freedom from want, freedom from fear, freedom to live with dignity. These are the three basic foundations upon which human security as a subject evolved, for the last, let's say, about 1990s. 1994 was the year when Kofi Annan, the then United Nations Secretary General, actually, batted human security. And then Canada as a country took it up. And then slowly, some of the European countries have took it up upon themselves, the traditional security issues like policing, maintenance of law and order, protection of land borders, water borders, or other important physical assets of a nation. If this constitutes in a one school of thought, national security, the other school of thought constitutes human security constitutes the food, the water, the environment, the health, the right to live with dignity, and education, and women as central figure to human security. So we took that as a case study in point and kept our center's name as Center for Human Security Studies, not as National Security Studies, because national security is of more state-centric, whereas human security is of more individual-centric and society-centric. I think that's where policy makers lose that balance of budget prioritization and budget allocation, mostly to the national security needs on buying arms, ammunition, and spending lots and loads of money on the infrastructure as such, and missing out the right to food, right to health, right to educate, right to have dignity, to live leads one life. That's the balance.
That's where the MOU with the value of words would be most significant, because words, enlightenment, and knowledge, these are therefore very essential components of what you're looking at. So we welcome this collaboration, Ramesh, and we hope that in the years to come, the literature will play an increasingly important role in the lives of people. And with your support in Hyderabad, we'll try to strengthen this aspect even further. Ajay, tell me something about the books that we are launching here, because we have several distinguished bureaucrats whose books are being launched. So can you share some insights about the books that are being
Yes.
launched at the Hyderabad edition?
That is another thing which excites me during this months. 3 months back, we planned for one book to be launched. That was by Shri Narendra Luther.
Yes.
Unfortunately, he is no more. But his last book, which he wrote and which has been published. So this is on his views during the partition time, 70 years back, more than 7 decades back. So that book is being launched as in the inaugural session on 13th morning. After that, another book which is being launched is by Sri J.C. Mohanty, who is a retired bureaucrat. His book is Through New Earth, Breaking Through New Earth. It is his experiences and his suggestions about how to go about the administrative and political setup in our state. Sri Mohanty, we know him for last 3 decades. He was an exceptional bureaucrat in all sense of the word. Then he ventured into politics in Odisha, and now he's settled in Hyderabad. So that is the second book which is being launched as a part of this festival. The excitement, the interest in Hyderabad can be gauged from the fact that during last 1 month, we have to agree for 4 new books to be launched or to be released here, which includes one book by Dr. Ramesh, which he was mentioning just few minutes back. Then we have a book on cartoons by a leading cartoonist of Hyderabad, Mr. Mrityunjay. We also have a poetry book by Ms. Jhilam Chaturai, which is called Noise Cancellation. Finally, we also have the book by Ms. Nandini Sengupta, which is the Gupta Empire Trilogy. So these 6 books are being released, launched during the 2 days. And if I can say, requests are still coming. But this week we have stopped at and started saying no to no further books, because to add it into our schedule will be a difficult task and people will be confused. So like I was thinking, Hyderabad traditionally has been the hub at the national level of 3 things. One is the agriculture seeds, not well known, but Hyderabad is the capital of agriculture seeds. Then comes pharma industry here. Third comes the IT. After Bangalore, we are number 2 in the national level. With VOW coming here and also Hyderabad Literary Festival, I am hoping, or what I can say, at least dreaming, that Hyderabad will also try to be the national literary hub in the days to come.
Well, you're giving a close competition to Dehradun, but that's okay. I think, as Ramesh was saying, that a time should come when all the city editions of VOW should compete with each other. That the Hyderabad edition is better than the Dehradun edition. But the fact is that you see all throughout, I think it's the culture of reading books which is very important. It is the involvement of the next generation in books which is so important, and holding a physical book and discussing it. I think, and the one thing which is so different, which VOW does from other literature festivals, is that we want people to have read the books before they come to a session, because the whole purpose is not to have too many people. I mean, it's not a festival where we want numbers. We want numbers, of course, but we want the discussion to be of top-notch quality. And I think that is the USP of VOW as it is evolving over the years. Ajay, another thing which I want to discuss with you is also about the exhibition of cartoons, which one of the former DGs, Mr. Acharya, is launching here. So can you tell us something about Dr. Acharya and about his cartoons and about his flourish with the pen and with ink and with paper?
As a part of this festival here in Hyderabad, we are having two events relating to cartoons. One is the exhibition of cartoons by Sri B.P. Acharya, who is superannuated from the administrative service last year. He has been sketching cartoons for last at least 3 decades, which I know. Incidentally, he is also from JNU. He happened to be our hostel mate, and so we know him also for 4 decades. But his cartoons we know for last 3 decades. And his exhibitions have been held earlier in Hyderabad. So his is an exhibition of cartoons in the evening of first day, that is 13th of November. Then the book of cartoons by a leading cartoonist called Rashid Messenger. He is a regular contributor to Telangana Today, the news daily from Hyderabad. And he has worked for last 20 years in different magazines and periodicals and newspapers. He has published more than 2-3 books on cartoons. So his cartoon books are being released on 13th evening. So these are the 2 events for cartoons which we are having.
Great. And I think this is also one festival where we are focusing a lot on children, because young adults and children, because the theme of the Hyderabad festival is on transcreate, that is translations from regional languages to English. And we have 5 books in this category which are coming up for discussion. And then we have writings for young adults. So one of the reasons why Hyderabad was chosen for this is also the presence, as Ajay mentioned to you, the presence of the English and Foreign Language University, the presence of Osmania University, and of the Hyderabad Central University. So very briefly, let me tell you something about the translations that we are discussing here. We're discussing Hijab by Guru Prasad Kaginile, that's been translated from Kannada by Pavan Rao. And here Professor Vita Sharan will be in conversation, and the moderator will be Sami Sani. Then we also have a Manipuri translation, The Princess and the Political Agent by Binodani. And here also the discussion is by our common friend, General Shravan Kumar. Then you have a book from Punjab, which is Shanti Parv, which Neeti Singh will be doing. She is in the US. In fact, another point which is there, which Ajay just mentioned, being the IT hub, most of our sessions are also going to be phygital, in the sense that many of our authors are abroad. Neeti Singh is abroad, Pavan Rao is abroad. Somi Roy, she's also going to be joining us online. So this is another beauty of literature festivals now, that you don't have to be physically present in a place. Of course, we are happy that Ranjita Biswas is joining us to discuss her book, The Loneliness of Hira Barua. So I think this is a very interesting format, the phygital format. And so Dr. Ramesh, tell us about how MCHRDI's IT department has been able to ensure a seamless arrangement under which we can have these connections all over, and how is IT helping the spread of literature, not only within the country, but in fact the whole world.
Thank you, sir. Interface of technology and literature, tech and literature, the interface is, as you said very correctly, Hyderabad is doing well in general, and in specific also, Dr. MCR HRD Institute happens to be training special FCs and FCs, All India Civil Service and Central Civil Services. I think, the stage is set, the technical know-how is set for kind of expanding the horizons of the VOW, in that sense, branching out to different countries also. I think that is one important point that I would like to mention, sir. And as also Sri Ajay Mishra sir mentioned a few minutes back about adding young panelists into the panel, to discuss the book and also pose a few questions to the author, is definitely going to be a hit, because in Hyderabad we have contacted certain international schools also. In Hyderabad, 11th and 12th graders also will be part of the young panelists, and also people who are working in our think tank, Center for Human Security Studies, as research interns and research associates. They're also Some of them got placed to be in young panels. So I think, it's a mix of both the senior, the young minds, talking to the author and also interacting with the audience at the same time. That will be live telecasted with the help of the Dr. Acharya HRD IT team as well as Rishabh from VOW team. So yeah.
Thank you. Ajay, no literature festival is complete without cultural events. And I'm sure you've lined up some cultural events in Hyderabad as well. Can you tell us about the cultural events that you're organizing?
Sir, can you please turn your mic on?
Regarding cultural events, we are having 2 events, one on both the days. One is fusion music by Sri Jayavant Naidu. I came to know Sri Jayavant Naidu. He is the coordinator for Andhra Pradesh and Telangana for Speak Make. That's how I came into association with him about 10 years back. He is credited with a patented guitar,
Okay.
which is known as, yes, patented guitar, which is known as Jayavant guitar. So he performs on that, and he has performed in a few countries outside. So he will be giving a program on fusion music on 13th evening. Then another program which we are having is mono play kind of a thing on 14th of November. 14th November also happens to be Children's Day. So on that day, Mrs. Vaishali Bisht, she runs the Children's Festival organization in Hyderabad. So she is organizing and a play of 25 minutes duration into 2 sets on 14th evening. So these are the 2 cultural events which we'll be having on 13th and 14th as a part of this festival. And both these are normally different from what we find in most of the other programs, which is local dances, local arts, crafts. So these are more, if I can say, different in the sense that one is a patented instrument being played by the musician who has invented it. And the second is the occasion of Children's Day, performance by children regarding the on the theater front.
That's really remarkable. That's really remarkable, especially the fact that, children are going to be involved and they're going to be, enacting their own stories, enacting their own plays. That's something which is very, very good. I'd also like to share with the viewers that, one of the things which Value of Words does is that in addition to the themes of the knowledge vertical, for example, in Hyderabad, we have Transcreate, which is the translations from Indian languages to English, bhashas to English, and for young writers. If there is an author who's shortlisted and who belongs to that city, that author's work is also celebrated. So in that context, we have Mehak Jangra here with us, whose book, Sometimes Ivory, Sometimes Sand. This has already been featured in Calcutta, and therefore many of you may have seen the YouTube channel, YouTube video of that presentation which she made as a young author. And I must say that it's an exceptional book because Mehak is all of 27 years, but she started writing this book when she was just in her early 20s. And it's a fantastic story about, women coming of age. It's about Jasmine and 2 women, their independence, their spirit of discovery. And it sort of brings to light an entirely a world of women. It's a very women-centric piece, and in conversation with her will be Dr. Savita and Professor K. Sunita Rani. That also promises to be a very, very interesting session. I'll also share with the readers, the fact that Nandini Sen Gupta had to come here, but unfortunately she's not well, and so she'll be joining us online. And this is the 3rd of her Gupta Empire trilogy, The Ocean Zone. Again, a very fascinating story about the Gupta Empire. And she also makes a point that there were 3 great dynasties in the country. I mean, you've had the the Chandragupta dynasty, you've had the Mughal Empire, and you've had the British Empire. But somehow the sort of material that we have on the Mughal Empire and the sort of material that we have on the British Empire, somehow or the other, we've not been able to give that kind of focus to the period of history which Nandini Sengupta focuses on. So that's going to be yet another interesting session. So before I close, Ajay, let me just ask you again that what do you feel about the festival? What do you feel should we be doing it year after year? And your general last points and your last suggestions to both to the VOW team and as well to the listeners of this podcast or this video, and to the listeners in Hyderabad in general.
I'll say this year is the beginning. We will learn many things after first time organizing of VOW, and let it be continued every year. Whatever part of the events of VOW can be held in Hyderabad, we'll be happy to do that with many more improvements in future.
Thank you, Ajay.
Yes.
And in fact, through you, I would also like to thank both the Hyderabad Literature Festival, the senior leadership there, which helped you. Through you, I would also like to thank the EFLU, the Osmania University and Hyderabad University, because they gave you all the support. I don't need to thank our friends in JNU because all of us are very happy that that we are all together. In fact, I must mention here that the JNU had a big get together when about 3 years ago, when we all came and congregated from various parts of the world to have the JNU get together here, and perhaps the seeds of VOW, was sown at that time, because this was the same campus, the same Vivekanand lawns, the same Akshar Theatre, the same Godavari hostel, the same Manjira hostel where many of us had stayed. And that is the time when I think the incipient idea that, if you want to organize an event of this scale, an event of this nature, outside a place other than Dehradun, then this could be one of those places. Ramesh, would you like to add a few words and, just tell us about what is your vision? What would you like VOW to do in the years to come?
Yes, sir. Sir, as you said very correctly, sir, about a minute ago, 2019 February was the time when we all met up at Dr. Acharya Institute on the JNU Golden Jubilee celebration, and then Krishna Hostel happens to be, and I was the coordinator with the blessings of all of you, who could contribute a little bit and get the dots connected with Chandrasekhar Tibrewal also from the United States coming down. That's apart. Coming to the VOW, sir, as you said, I have few plans for VOW in Hyderabad. As Ajay Mishra, sir, I strongly support his argument, since we learn a lot from the first year of its Hyderabad edition VOW here. We take those lessons and further improvise with connecting with the high-tech part of the pharma part of it, the food and agriculture sector part of it, because and also there is a lot of defense and industrial establishments in Hyderabad with security as the paramount importance. So we can add those angles also, sir. And there is a big flavor of Tollywood in Hyderabad, sir. Next to the Bollywood, I think second biggest filmmaking is in Hyderabad in terms of revenue or share, even beating the Tamil Nadu. So this Tollywood happens to be from this place. From Hyderabad. So I think, we can add those artistic elements and commercial and glamour elements also, if not commercial in that sense, artistic elements from the filmmaking. So these are the different dots where we can connect the IT dot, the pharma, the real estate boom, and also this film line. And also Hyderabad happens to have 3 to 4 central universities, sir. I don't think any other city except Delhi has 4 central universities in one city. The University of Hyderabad, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, English and Foreign Languages University, and also 3 universities, central and state universities, Osmania, and also NG Acharya Jaishankar's Agriculture University. You have a very good ecosystem to
Absolutely. This is actually, and this morning we had a meeting with ASCAI. You have ASCAI, you have manager, you have so many institutions.
Yes, sir, you're right, sir.
But I think before closing, let me just say that the first point which Ajay had made, that this is a city which is the hub of seed production in the country. And therefore, I think the seed or the sapling of VOW has also been planted in Hyderabad. And I'm sure that with your support, with your goodwill, with your friendship and with your fellowship, this sapling will grow from more to more, and thus human life will be enriched. So thank you very much, Ajay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramesh. Thank you very much, Dr. Harpreet Singh. Thank you to all our friends and colleagues in Hyderabad for having given us this opportunity to present this edition. And now, dear friends, over to the sessions that are going to be relayed on the YouTube. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.